Brother, go and put your men on the boundary line. And if you give we a liquor, that is merely a hiccup. Look, you win the little battle, you lose the war. It's the same result every time. Everybody sing. Here on the West Indies, here on the West Indies. Them rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here come the West Indies. I tell you now, here on the West Indies. Here come the West Indies. Them bad boys gonna bring you to your knees. Here come the West Indies. Special request to the Trinity posse. And what about the Guyana posse? And what about the Jamaica posse?
It says that the men in this place must learn to take better care of their mother. Mother's love. In this place, certain men should hide their face. The way they treat their mother is a disgrace. In this place, certain men should hide their face. The way they treat their mother is a disgrace. Neglect the old lady for donkey years. When she dead, they shedding crocodile tears and spending money like hell to build a casket big like Hilton Hotel. But when their mother was alive, they didn't know she then is nightclubs and brothel. The money used to spend, they used to carry on. But now that she is gone, them hypocrites does weep and mourn. But if you are lucky and still have your mommy, remember what Sparrow said. Forget them jagabats and all the Jezebel. Make sure your mommy okay. So in the street, some madam drunk in the street, and mama have nothing to eat. Buying company, every day they in a spree, while their mama belly empty. I know a man who joined his wife one night to cuss his mother till he end up in the jail in Carrera. When she dead, he start to moan and shout, I wish the dead could have wake up and bust it down mouth. When his mother was in need, he never paid her heed, and she had to eat the bread the devil need. It was so unfair, just a postcard once a year he will send to pretend sincere. No, she don't need a lot. Just give her what you got, whether you're rich or you're poor. I say, not only on her birthday, that shouldn't be the way. Every day should be Mother's Day. Oh no, don't neglect your mommy so. Don't leave her with tears and sorrow. Respect, she must get that respect that all good mothers should get. You have to make it a point of duty. Try and see that she's always happy, not like those who will pay the bill just to make sure that their name come out in the will. You treated her unkind, drove her out of mind. How could you be so blind to leave mama to pine? The pain she had to bear to bring you safely here, and now you don't really care. Oh, you treated her crude, and for your ingratitude, someday you will have to pay. Because retribution meets every man who meets his mommy that way. La 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 la. my friend, tell me, why do you pretend to remember your mother then? Why do you mourn when she's buried all alone and no longer can she return? The Lord above will take care of her up there, but your obligation lies right here. It's unkind to leave her undone, so don't be a blasted, ungrateful son. After all is said and done, I'm warning every son, please give your mama the love and affection. Try to understand, she did the best she can, so now give her a helping hand. I say you cannot repay even until your dying day, though you may own the stars and moon above. You'll be a very lucky fella if you still have the treasure as the wealth of a mother. Okay. So in the street, some madam drunk in the street, and mama have nothing to eat. Buying company, every day they in a spree, while their mama belly empty. I know a man who joined his wife one night to cuss his mother, till he end up in the jail in Carrera. When she dead, he start to moan and shout, I wish the dead could have wake up and bust it down mouth. When his mother was in need, he never paid her heed, and she had to eat the bread the devil need. It was so unfair, just a postcard once a year he will send to pretend sincere. No, she don't need a lot, just give her what you got, whether you're rich or you're poor. I say, not only on her birthday, that shouldn't be the way. Every day should be Mother's Day. Oh no, don't neglect your mommy so. Don't leave her with tears and sorrow. Respect.
No song, oh Lord. Yes, welcome to our cricket edition. Tonight, I was saying we came in there with the mighty Sparrow, born in Grenada, raised in Trinidad, hung out a lot in Guyana, and I was making the point. That Sparrow sung that calypso about the troubles in the 1960s. And he said, you can burn down, they can burn down Bukors, they can burn down Fogarties, but once they're in touch, my place in Tiger Bay, where all them Wabbins has hung out. Because in those days, he used to spend a lot of time in there. Welcome, it's Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day, and that is why we, I think we fixed the song now. That is why we started out there with Sparrow. Mother's Love. Happy Mother's Day to everyone, and happy Mother's Day to the mothers and their fathers who are mothers too. But the mothers, they're the real deal. You know, Dick Gregory used to say, thank God for two things in the Black community: the Black church and the black woman, and by extension, women of all color. I don't know without our women where we would be as a country, as a community, as a Caribbean, whatever the endeavor, women have been there. And I always say I was raised by women. Men were always around, but I was raised by women. The wisdom, the encouragement, all the things. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. My own mother, I wish her happy Mother's Day already. And my sisters and all those women who mothered me. And by extension, all our women. Happy Mother's Day. Well, today is cricket. Today it's cricket, and we're going to be rolling. We're going to be talking about the state of West Indies cricket. We have a big cast tonight. Dr. Adams, of course, is here with me. He was here last week, and he's going to be joined by Basil Butcher Jr. Basil Butcher Jr. Once you're around cricket, you must know about Basil Butcher. Well, Basil's son is going to join us. He's a well-known cricket analyst. And we're going to be joined by attorney at law, Dawn Holder Cush. Dawn, of course, is the daughter of Terry Holder. And so she grew up with cricket too, in her home, I imagine, as all of us did. And she is on the panel here this evening. I remember Dawn and the rest of us, I haven't been around, so it probably still is there. We hung out every Saturday afternoon at the headquarters, Julian's, and invariably, cricket was always the conversation. Politics was always there, but it was cricket. And I used to be a Sammy man, and I remember raising about Sammy, and Dawn put a last down for me because she wasn't convinced about Darren Sammy back in those days. I don't know where she stands now, but we are ready to talk cricket. We are ready to talk cricket tonight, and we are going to get going in a minute. In a minute, please share the link. Let everyone know that Politics 101 is on. We are ready to go, ready to roll. We have a big panel here tonight, and we're going to be doing it. Share the link.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming to an end. But down here, just a chink in the armor is enough to lose a friend. Some of the old generals are retired and gone. The run don't come as they did before. But when the two says go, don't you know that there's a loose gun? We fought the battle, but yet we will win the war. Rally from the West Indies, forever. Rally from the West Indies.
Royalty there, David Michael Rudder. Tears still come to my eyes whenever I hear that calypso. It was written in 1988, long before Australia whipped us in 1995 to take away the glory from us. And still still brings you know, we in the Caribbean, we worry about many things. We worry about politics a lot. We worry about economics. We worry about a lot of things, but I find we worry the most about cricket. I'm telling you all the truth. I worry about politics a lot, but I worry about cricket more. I mean, I be talking to myself in my house about our cricket. And the thing that take away from me 30 years ago. 30 years ago, next year, it's going to be 30 years, and we still worry about cricket. And the question is, why do we worry so much about cricket? Why do we worry so much? I'm going to put that question to our panel, but we're ready to go. We're ready to go. Rally around the West Indies. West Indies Cricket 101. And let's go here. Let's go here. I think we have everybody in. We're not seeing Don. We are seeing our logo, but we're not seeing our video. Don, you want to turn on your video?
John, let me to turn on my video.
Yeah.
Let me turn on my video.
While Don is turning the video on there.
I am trying that.
Yes. But while you turn it on, Basil, good night.
Yeah.
Good evening, Dr. Hines. Good evening, Vincent. Good evening
It's
to all
StreamYard.com.
all around the world. Good evening to Miss Dawn Cush.
Yes, Don is trying to get the video to come on there. We came in there with David Rudder's Rally Around the West Indies, which has become the anthem of West Indies cricket. And as I said, every time I hear that calypso, it brings tears to my eyes, and I realize that I worry about cricket more than my own children and so on. I worry about cricket. Do you all find that you have that same kind of experience, starting with you, Basil?
With the hammering we have been taking for the last 20 odd years, I've had to, for my wellness, my mental well-being, I have learned not to get too high, not to get too low when it comes to West Indies cricket, right? Even my passion remains very high, but I am not I don't get sick or too happy when we win or lose.
So, Dr. Adams, you worry as I do.
No, I guess it's a similar sentiments that Basil expressed. Of course, when I was growing up, cricket used to be just like my life. You know, you get up, especially if you don't have to go to school, you get up and you play from morning till night. So you follow the West Indians. I remember growing up as a little kid, and each of us had a name. Used to name each other after one. It's like, I used to call myself Rohan, even though it's. Then when I realized that, I realized that was very sacrilegious for me to, But so that's the only thing that we knew. But then afterwards, as Basil said, it's not the same. And you see, and Basil would know that I come from and the reason why I guess I've lost not only faith and confidence in the team, it is the attitude of players. And I hate to say, I know that money has something to do with it, because when I look back, when I used to play and Basil's father used to play, you basically play for free. It's all about pride. So because that was inculcated in me, when I see the behavior of certain players, I remember Clive told me once, he said, Addy, he said, nowadays, you got to pay them as a fee to even sign and get an autograph. They tell you, talk to my agent to get an autograph. I mean, so when I look at that, it's more to me about attitude. That is why, and Basil would know this, I draw the line right there. I don't care how big a superstar you are. If you're not bigger than the game, and if you're behaving that way, I'll get rid of you. And you set an example as to the discipline and pride that you need in a team. So because of that type of thing, how players behave these days, not all the players, by the way, but one player can taint an entire image of a team. But the way that they behave, you know, it's not like it used to be, Dr. Hine. Where my heart and soul was in a team.
Yeah. Don, while they're trying to fix your camera there, are you hearing us?
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, we'll go with the audio while they're
You
trying.
see me now?
No, I'm not seeing you. I'm not seeing you. They still have.
I'm using my phone, and I can see myself. Let me see.
Yeah. But we not seeing you. We not seeing you at all.
Dr. Hines, you taught me something there. I never knew.
Yes, go ahead, Dr.
I
Adams.
never knew that Terry Holder was Don's dad. Don came from good stock. I underestimated Don here now. Don.
We know
Vincent, stop telling lies. You
Well,
know very well that.
I see
When
you
he
and I
was-
see you down hanging out at the conference there in Washington. But
And he was where he was challenged, where he was challenged by a current MP of the AFC who said he never believed that Vincent Adams played cricket. Exactly. And he said you could ask Terry Holder's daughter, she will tell you that I played cricket. and David, I must tell you, I cannot ever dispute what you're saying about Sammy. I had a big issue with Darren Sammy. It is not as bad now as it was then, because I felt he got on the team because he was a St. Lucia at the time of Julian Hunt.
I agree with
I didn't think his getting on the team was fair, but that is what we're here to talk about tonight.
Yes,
but before
I would go by Julian.
Let me back up Don quickly. I like Sammy, but then how could a coach not know who your vice captain was?
All right, all that. No, but she had very strong views on Sammy, and I remember, and this got to be about almost 10 years ago, Don.
Yeah, that's about 10 years ago.
Yeah, because it wasn't where we weren't where the Julian's is now. I think it used to be on Thomas Street.
Yeah, that's a great Mr. Yeah, that was in Thomas Street.
And I make myself fast and talk about Sammy going to turn the thing around. And Dan put a lash down for me. I didn't know who was Dan. So a jam Aubrey Norton, he was there. I said, who is that? He says, stereo the doctor. Oh, say, oh, Jesus Christ, you know.
My father shared my sentiments about Sammy as well.
But Don, I asked Basil and Vincent the question: do you worry about West Indies cricket as the rest of us do?
Oh, we have to worry. We have to worry. When will we stop worrying? Right? I mean, we are not. I think before independence, there was a common bond of the countries that were playing. Now as independent nations, right? I'm not sure what is this concept of the West Indies. You are playing a song just now, you describe it as a calypso, which it is. But that song is regarded as the West Indies cricket anthem. The second verse says, way down under a warrior falls. Michael Holden falls in the heat of the battle. Michael should have left long time. I heard an angry brother shout. Caribbean man, that is the root of our trouble. In these tiny theaters of conflict and confusion, better known as the Isles of the West Indies, we already know who brought us here and who created this confusion. So I'm begging my people to please. And then he goes on with the verse, rally, rally around the West Indies. But that could never be an anthem. That could never be inspiring. That you're talking about people saying Michael Holden should go. An anthem has to be something that inspires you with some pride of the region. How we gonna have pride as a region?
Mhm.
Right? When Guyanese say Bajans don't like me, we don't like this body, or I don't like the body, the insularity is the problem.
You think insularity is a problem?
Insularity is one of the biggest problems. We celebrated the fact that 5 Guyanese are picked to play in the ICC T20. Right? I hope they understand it's picked to play and not play.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we celebrating that. I mean, I don't have a problem with 5 or 6 Guyanese, but it must be the best players who must represent the West Indies.
Right.
And if that means 2 Guyanese, then so be it.
I agree.
So be it.
Basil, you're shaking your head, and I think I think Don has gotten into the question that we are trying to answer here tonight. The state of West Indies cricket, what is to be done? But she puts her finger on insularity.
Yes.
It's new. It's nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
But Don seems to be suggesting that it has not gone away. Do you share that view?
I agree 1,000. Vincent could tell you we're in a chat. We're in a couple chat groups, and we're in 2 chat groups that's predominated by Guyanese. And you heard I am always pushing back. And then we're in another chat group where it's dominated by Bajans, and I'm always pushing back at the insularity that is seen in both camps. And I agree. I had never listened. I mean the words of that song. And in Don pointing that out, it reminds me of the famous speech in Julius Caesar, where Mark Antony destroyed Brutus, and then at the end of each stanza say, "But Brutus is an honorable man." So here you talking about the insularity, and then you're gonna say at the end, rally around the West Indies. There's a contradiction there, you know. So maybe that anthem needs to be dropped.
But David described it as a calypso, and he's correct.
Yes.
Dave said it's an anthem.
Right.
But David, who has a PhD, who's well educated, as is Vincent, they're both very learned men. I'm sure that David understands the difference between a calypso and an anthem.
Don, I know when you lawyers talk about a learned counsel, I know what you mean.
I never said learned counsel. I said you all are learned men. I said you are learned men. You have PhDs, real PhDs, earned PhDs after a dissertation. Y'all don't provoke me tonight.
Vincent, do you share the view of the insularity as a big problem for the current state of our cricket?
Absolutely, without question. And like Basil said, we're in that chat, and we've got a group of men, and we understand the sentiments, you know, your countryman and stuff. But it's like a cult. We behave as if it's a cult. It doesn't matter. One man could make 5 ducks or make duck in every single innings he played for the entire year, and men would just come back with some kind of a spin, as to very creative spin too, as to why he should be in the team. No, I absolutely agree. We still have a lots of insularity, and and the players, even the players realize it, and it's not good for the team. It is not good for the team. We go back and see. I never played for the West Indies, but I remember we had the same type of issues, even in our local cricket in Guyana.
Exactly.
The national team with
Yes.
certain players of from one county, Basil,
right.
and other players are not getting picked, or certain players of one ethnic background not getting.
Correct.
So you experience it. It just give you grow up. It's part of our DNA, and that has to stop.
Dr. Hines,
yes, Basil.
As you being somebody, historian and politics, and you're teaching at university, one of the problems in West Indies cricket is the culture within which our cricket structure was developed. We were in a colonial context. We have never gotten out of that colonial context. Even though it's people that look just like us that are in charge, the culture still remain. So what Vincent is talking about there, it still pervades from a local level, and it goes up the ladder. It's like I always remember my dad telling me something over 30 something years ago. I lamenting about the West Indies Cricket Board, and he looked at me and said, Skipper, the West Indies Board consists of representatives from each of the territories. And if you have SHIT in the territories, what you think you're going to get at the West Indies Board? And that culture still remains at the bottom. You still hear people in Guyana. You would hear people in Guyana. You hear the complaints about a certain ethnic group getting preference in the cricket teams over another ethnic group, and that's all a microcosm of the situation in West Indies cricket. I've heard people who have gotten to the level of director and say in those board meetings, every territorial, all the different directors fighting for their place, you know? And language is very important. I often say cricket in Guyana, not Guyana cricket, because another lesson my dad taught me from way back, he said, every single cricket in the West Indies is West Indies cricket first. And the question you must always ask yourself is, what am I doing here good for West Indies cricket first and foremost, and everything after that. But we have not gotten to that place as of yet.
Good evening to all of you in the audience. Please share the link. You all are loyalists. You all are loyalists. And you all see what Basil did. He said, Dr. Hines, you're the historian. You're the politics man. And then he proceeds to adumbrate like an historian. Because you've gone deeper into the question there, Basil, and I'm going to bring in Don and Vincent, because Lawrence, who is a bad man when it comes to cricket too. You know, when I used to play a cricket scholar on a website, you used to be on there, Basil.
Yes.
Ryan the Rhine website back in the old days.
I know Lawrence very well from school.
Yeah, you know Lawrence from school.
No,
yeah, very well. And I know his views on cricket too.
Oh, you know his views on cricket.
Dr. Hines.
Lawrence is saying what's seen as insularity might merely be familiarity.
No.
Don, you first, Vincent, and then Basil.
I think that Lawrence is just being the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I don't think he honestly means that at all. Mm-hmm. The whole problem with the West Indies cricket goes back. It will always go back to the board. The board is where either the problems start or where the problems are solved. First at the local level, and then at the regional level. We've had papers done by P.J. Patterson. We had papers done by Mr. Wilkin, and then we had the last one was done by Professor Barito. And I just want to share two things that he said, and these are very important things. He said, one, a creation of a new governance and management architecture for West Indies cricket. Two, the panel strongly recommends the immediate dissolution of the West Indies Cricket Board and the appointment of an interim board whose structure and composition will be radically different from the now proven obsolete governance framework. He said this is a fundamental and foundational requirement. This was in 2015, commissioned by CARICOM. We're in 2024.
And that was this
is Barito.
This Barito, that's the most recent one, yes.
Barito, before parts of them were before Barito.
Yes.
Right? I'm saying, so these people do all this work. He even suggested names of people who should be on the interim committee, like Dr. Cush and so on. Right? I mean, people who I think could rise above the insularity and so on. But what is the sense? We do all of this. You had a conference last week. Everybody talk. One thing with West Indies, we could talk. Yes. Oh Lord, we could talk. So we talk. The man write all of this. Is a 46-page document. And because I was coming on your program, they wanted to simply say, Sterry, hold the daughter. I said, no, I got to come on the show and show y'all that I know cricket. Right? So there it was now. This is the recommendation. That has not been done. All the reasons for the recommendations are laid out. It's a big document. I will send it to each of you individually. And you could take your time and read it. But I'm saying the problem starts at the board. At the local board, right? And then at the regional board. Ghana is a hotbed of controversy when it comes to the Ghana Cricket Board. I don't know if Vincent is aware if you were in, I don't think you were here as yet. Right? But when I tell you a hotbed, it had police being involved and summons being served and all of that. You know? That's correct. You know, I remember the search house of Lionel, the late Lionel Jaikaran. And I asked him what they took. He said they took a Ghana Cricket Board constitution. That's what it seized. You know, it was ridiculous. So things were really, 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 really bad. You know, and my father was there. A sick man, we tell him, resign from the board now. My brother and I gave him that instruction. He said, I'm resigning from no board. I am on the board. We got to deal with these issues. But he died and those issues were dealt with. And those issues still remain. People who the government want to serve are there. They're not necessarily persons who are the best people to serve Ghana's cricket. Why should Roger Harper not be a part of any national cricket board?
Correct.
And I know Lawrence Romeo will agree with me with that one.
Lawrence, your name call him by. Lawrence, Vince, and then Basil. Lawrence is saying that what we call insularity may merely be familiarity, and he's delving into the realm there of philosophy. So you can pass and say, I'm not a philosopher, I'm a scientist. And scientists deal with what is quantitative, and you social scientists and philosophers deal with qualitative, which is not real, right? But do you think Romeo has a point there? And when you finish with that, talk about the governance issue that Don has introduced. And then when you finish, Basil, your turn.
Yeah, of course, I'm not sure what he means by familiarity, because again, if you start from in the local cricket, there's nothing.
Well, I think what he means is that human beings tend to identify with that thing that they're familiar. So if and it may come over as insularity, but it may not be insularity. It may just be that people identify with that which they are most familiar.
And that's expected sometimes. But I mean, some of these are so brazen, and as a scientist, you know that we don't have a whole lot of wiggle room when it comes to we deal with the numbers, and you have to have results.
Empirics. So, my brother and boy would say scientists deal with empirics.
That's right. Now, having said that, because the results speak for itself, the numbers speak for itself for the players. And Basil, there's nobody better than Basil in terms of keeping numbers and remembering numbers. And when you look at the numbers when teams are selected from time to time, there is no question as to what is going on. Now, Don touched on something there, which I've always believed. And going back again, as a cricketer, or any athlete, you would do anything to win. Okay? Here we are, and what used to happen in the past, and being the oldest among this group here, I'm old school still. In the past, what used to happen, guess who used to lead the West Indies Cricket Board of Control? Ex-cricketers. Look at Sir Clive Lloyd. Clive wanted to get on the board. Even Guyana did not even support Clive for getting on the board. You have somebody like a Clive Lloyd or of his stature, people who are used to winning and who would do anything to win. They would be the ones who were who, if they're on the board, they would do whatever it is again to get results. But what we switched to, we've got a bunch of business people. I think it started with the guy from St. Lucia. I think what was his name, Basil? Was it Skerrett?
No, Julian Hunt.
But we started with this whole thing about putting business people instead of putting cricketers who are competitive and want to win and have shown that they're winners and would do anything. Look at how Clive revolutionized cricket by the first ever to be playing 4 quicks, when the traditional way was 2 fast bowler, or a spinner and a leg spinner. And when Clive started, nobody expected that would have revolutionized cricket. And today, you play your best 4 bowlers or your best 5 bowlers. And so that I think that's the big difference in to get people who understands game, who play the game and knows what it takes to win. They relate to the players, and they were in that position, and they would not like to see people getting on the team who are not supposed to be on the team. That's where we need to start.
Basil, you come back on the insularity. Is it familiarity? Is it insularity, or where does familiarity stop and insularity begins? I suppose
I give you a clear example, because I like to deal with facts. When Clive Lloyd was the chairman of selectors, you had Guyanese accusing Clive Lloyd of not liking Guyanese because certain Guyanese players were not being picked. That is clear insularity. And people saying that Clive Lloyd don't like Guyanese. Those people don't know nothing about Clive Lloyd. But just because their favorite Guyanese player was not being selected, Clive Lloyd don't like Guyanese, right? And the question I would always ask them, make a case for me why player X you advocating for should be on the team. I don't want to hear Guyana win 3 or 4 years in a row, so therefore Guyana should get X number of players on the team. You're picking the players as individuals, it's not as a team. It's based on what they do and what they could bring to the West Indies team at the next level, right? So, I mean, and here, even think about this too. When Clive became the captain, one of the things he deliberately did, he would put players of different territories as roommates, because he saw. My dad used to tell me how when he played, the players from different territories would all click amongst each other, right? Because that's where the familiarity stuff you could talk about, because hey, we share a same culture, so we would tend to want to be around people a similar culture. But when it gets to the point where you're going to choose a player because he comes from, or give a player an ad because he comes from the same place as you, now we're talking, it's not just simply familiarity, you're talking more insularity. And what Don raised about the governance, that's been the issue. Look, every top test playing nation has done a total reconstruction of how they govern their cricket, right? And we still can't do it, and we languishing at the bottom of the table. But everybody else who at the top have done it, and we still don't see the wisdom in doing it, and some of the seemingly ego things that is holding back us from taking those steps. You know, for example, as Don pointed out about Guyana, I was told this. They had the Webley report and the recommendations. So they formed a committee that went and met with every territorial board to song them out. They will have questions, bring other issues, and so on and so forth. You know, today, the only board that has not met with the Webley group is Guyana. When this current group came in, we need 3 months. Well, 3 months passed and gone, and it continued. How long would you take to read through the Webley recommendations and have some points to make? And this thing seems to be going in perpetuity. And as she correctly said, Don Gray said, a guy like Roger Harper just sitting around because Roger talk hard and question some of their appointment to director, and once he must apologize, he gets jettisoned off the board. I thought, you know, our cricket not going, the cricket in Guyana not going anywhere when those kind of things continue. And before I forget, Don being a lawyer, I want to ask this question. I don't want to forget this. The Guyana board change the term of office of the executive from 2 to 4 years. My question is this, because in the Cricket Act, all the constitutions of all the various boards are in the Cricket Act, right? So therefore, I'm asking, can you change something in your constitution, which is part of the Cricket Act, which is a law of the land, unless it's changed in Parliament?
I am not sure what the Cricket Act says. So I wouldn't want to comment on that.
Right.
And also, I'm not very good in giving free advice.
No. I don't want to give advice. I want the issue to be raised. No, because
No, but I don't want to answer that. As the program goes on, I will try to get the answer for you. But I wanted to share something that Colin Croft mentioned. Right? He said vacant, empty positions at Cricket West Indies are never published publicly, much less to be applied for. And that is shocking. Right? And he said the late Pat Rousseau in early 1990s, as president of the West Indies Cricket Board, actually endeavored to bring all the present and former West Indies players together so they could have attended. Hundreds attended. He said it was the first and last such fully inclusive event associated by Cricket West Indies and all governments of the Caribbean. And that has never happened again. So all the cricketers were present. Everybody shared their stories. That must make sense. And that should be a continuous process. Right? Because what the old players know, right? It is good for them to be able to pass it on.
Yes.
Right? I was talking to Pastor today. I was trying to ask him about this boy, Devon Thomas, and so on. Well, he says the ICC has a very strict program that all the players are exposed to. And in the case of Thomas pleaded guilty. So he had to, but it's also a little upsetting that a young player would go and get himself into that sort of trouble. But I don't want to digress to that too. But the point he was making, I was telling him about that Brian Lara complaining about lack of facilities in Trinidad and the technology. And he said when he went to Bangladesh, he was so impressed by the facilities that they have there. Right? So that is clearly a country that has cricket interests at heart. Right? It's not about making money and fanfare and all of that. No. It's serious to improve the level of cricket. We have no proper indoor facility. When rain falls, where they practicing?
Nowhere.
In the hotel. They got practice in the hotel.
Yeah.
But look, you know, let me quickly add to Basil. We talk about Roger. Obviously, without question, Roger is being treated unfair. As a matter of fact, that whole Demerara Cricket Association, we know some history behind that. What happened there. But look at Foster in Berbice. Look at how Foster has been treated in Berbice. When this administration came in, Foster was the representative of the West Indies Cricket Board. He was removed, and he's been isolated. And Foster is doing more work than the rest of the entire Guyana Cricket Board.
I would say, without hesitation, Hilbert Foster is the Guyanese who has Guyana cricket at heart more than anyone else. Unhesitatingly, I would say that. He's been treated very badly. He made a statement the other day. He said, y'all please keep me out of the board cricket. I'm focusing on Rose Hall.
Yes.
And that is sad because that is indeed a loss for Guyana cricket to have Foster not involved.
Exactly. It's a good. We can't afford to lose such assets as the situation is. We can't afford. And just a quick point that Don and Vincent made, with the advent of guys who never played the game or understand what needs to be done to develop players, you saw the eroding of the relationship that is fundamental to a player's development between the past players and the upcoming players being eroded to where we are today, right? Where our young players don't even know the history, the legacy upon which they stand, or even understand the importance of getting mentorship and advice and so on from somebody who has done it before them.
But some of them, because Lance Gibbs will tell you that every single time he comes to Ghana, Devendra Bishu finds him.
Mm-hmm.
He finds him and he talks to him, right? And he always has questions, and he's always very, very grateful for any intervention from Lance Gibbs. And that is somebody who's clearly interested in cricket.
Correct.
So he could do that. Some cricketers in Ghana, I think, are too big for the boots.
Yes.
Right, because of the money and the lifestyle,
Yeah.
and now I will say the friends, the friendliness with you can get invited. The 44th birthday. I mean, I was not invited, but some of them were invited, and have the pictures they posted and all of that. My God, I don't want to go, but some of them have been transformed, right?
And I want to
And so it is difficult for those people then to be able to really and truly have Guyana's cricket at heart. They finish with that.
Yeah.
They play and they're done, and life goes on. A man said, and I told Vincent, a man said in 2 decades of playing cricket, he's never seen racism of cricket in Guyana.
Yeah. In case you're just joining us, yes, it's West Indies Cricket 101, and yes, it's not Coretta McDonald you all are seeing, right? You all know I love certain kind of female. I like them female. I come from a village, them ladies stop train. So you all know I accustomed to a certain kind of woman. But it's not Coretta McDonald out there. Right? This is another firebrand. I don't want to get you with the politics tonight. Cricket. Don Holder Cush. For those of you who know anything about Guyana, you know pedigree. You all know that. I heard that before I read it in book. I hear them big man say, pedigree, you come from pedigree.
I am honored to be my father's daughter. I'm very honored to be my father's daughter.
Right.
Broadcaster, communication specialist, business CEO, and then he was the PRO for the guy.
For 20 years.
For 20 years.
And he was my father.
Listen.
Not cut you. When I was coming up as a little boy, he wrote the first article about me.
Okay.
Yes. When out of the youth series, I never forget that. He was a great writer.
Yes.
So he propelled you into the team.
Yes,
you're done.
Yeah, no, I had two favorite folks who used to journalists used to say almost every week. Terry and Slim Hardy.
Okay.
At the Chronicle.
Okay. You all have introduced the issue of players. And, I like to say that Brian Lara is a great cricketer, one of the greatest that we have ever produced. But if one wants to trace what we call the decline of West Indies cricket from the glory days, one has to start in the Lara era. He surely, if Larry Constantine was our first cricket superstar, Brian Lara was our first millionaire cricketer.
Definitely.
And I think that's an important moment when we begin to talk about this new dispensation that Don has been talking about. Clearly, these are boys who are now girls who come from the bowels of the poor, the powerless, and the working class. And so, therefore, economic advancement is always at the front of their mind.
That's right.
The working class was not just only about economic advancement. As Basil said, the working class was always about their condition, about their collective condition as a people. And I always say that I think Lara's, and he probably is making a tone. I saw him crying after Shamar Joseph's exploit, he and Carl Hooper. And perhaps he's atoning, but I think Lara was unable to balance a poor man, a poor boy, coming into contact with fame and money, but also not realizing that an entire nation of people, and by nation I don't mean single country, depended on him, that what he did on that cricket field would determine whether we die from heart attack or not. Right? That he was not conscious of that you had 5-6 million people are hanging on what you are doing. And so he wasn't able to balance the two. And I think is being unable to balance the two was then passed down to the Gales and the Bravos, and it come right down now to Hetmeyer, right? The inability of our players to balance this money that is coming. And if you're poor, money means a lot. But also, your people are depending on you, and you have to balance the two. Just my thesis. I'm throwing it out to you all for discussion.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think that was the problem. People got too comfortable, right? I remember my father telling me about Clive or Lance working at customs. And when they come home from playing for West Indies, they're riding the bicycle to work, right? So, I mean, these are men who, yes, they're playing for everybody know the names and so on. But at the end of the day, they didn't have that level of money being thrown to them that they could have stopped working where they were working. They had to work to maintain their families. Now these people are being paid a whole set of money, right? The heads are giddy. They got to dye the hair orange and pink and what, all sorts of nonsense, right? And a lot of it is a whole lot of hype. You know, you got to get a dance like Collie Moore. You got to wave and this and that. Everything is showtime. It's showtime. And if they look at some of the Indian players, and I made this point to Vincent Adams, Stephen Jacobs, captain West Indies under 19.
Yes.
When Virat Kohli, captain India under 19.
Under 19.
Look where they are now.
Yes.
Because the Indians, yes, they may have a lot of money and everything, but whenever you see them, they tend to be humble.
Yes.
You know,
I also think that has a lot to do with playing for country.
Yeah.
As against playing for West Indies.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm saying that is one of the issues. Because like when Guyana is playing against Trinidad and you go to the stadium, I mean the Guyanese pride is there. You willing to cuss out Bravo, this and that. And then a few days after that now, everybody playing on the same team. Right? But you still have all these issues with, oh, I don't like this body, I don't like how he's playing, unfair, this, that. But that is the reality. And that's why I'm saying, what is the West Indies cricket? If maybe Dr. Hines, maybe you could define what is West Indies cricket. You have these islands and one country that speak English in common and they were ruled by Britain. And these countries, through history, played cricket together. Is that still relevant today?
And I think that's the $1 billion question. And when I was growing up, you would have said that was the $100 question. Then it gone to there's $1,000, and then it got to $1 million. So there's $1 billion.
Well, there's Vincent kind of money, you know.
We talking Guyana dollars. If you're talking Guyana dollars,
no, we talking US dollars. Because everybody just get paid in US dollars and pounds, no Guyana dollars.
Yeah.
But Basil, let me come to you on that question of the balancing of economic advancement, because the life of a sports person is short. And these are poor boys who are coming from a situation of poverty. Balancing that, but your responsibility to the nation, and by nation here I mean West Indies, your responsibility to those 5, 6, 7, 8 million people, whether they face screw up or not, it depends on what you do on the cricket field. You know, I got some lady friend who just tell me when West Indies doing bad, they don't even want to cook the husband food, right? Because you know, women are now into the thing more than men, right? And so women are fetching the burden, and then ladies tell me don't want to cook my husband food when West Indies them by do choppiness, right?
Because the fellas have all the hype and the fancy hair and the good looking, and they got the walk. And my father always said this one thing they don't have. They have no class. He said, Sobers had to walk, you know, Butter had to walk, and I had to walk. When the men coming out. But these is just come and walk, bend the head and fling the bat in the air, and very basic. But when they get a wicket, it's a set of excitement. Daddy used to say Michael holding hand would fall off. If when he get a wicket, he had to carry on like that. His hand would fall off. But it's a whole set of drama and a whole set of hype.
Basil,
Yes.
the balancing.
When you said you think we started to go down with the era of Lara, I would push back a little bit. I think we started to go down even before we lost that test match.
Yeah. But remember, Lara started to play in '91 for the West Indies, right?
I would say we started because I give you again. I would always give you a striking example. I came home in '95 for the holidays, and they still had trial matches playing, and a whole bunch of us who came home, cricket guys, several guys who played for Guyana and so on. All of us met up at Evelary, and we watching the trial match. And I remember the end of the trial match, there was a guy who used to umpire over here in New York, a guy named Conrad. We call it Conrad. And Conrad was home for the holidays too. And Conrad rolling out his bicycle and he saw me. He said, Butcher, why see out there today? Man, if you come home and practice 3 months, you could play with these guys. This is not what I remember in the 70s and so on before I left to emigrated to America in terms of the standard of the cricket. Now, in terms of the riches coming into the game, that is an issue, and we see it, Dr. Hines. We see it here in the United States. Even in the United States, these young guys coming out into the NBA and so on, and you hear some of them have earned $100 million, and a couple years after retirement they broke, right? So there has to be some kind of mechanism of how you would inculcate these guys to be professional. And I would say this one thing I would say about Lara. I don't think Lara was a good leader of men. Lara struggled with, Clive Lloyd was the last captain of the West Indies team that was able to get all the players pointing in one direction, playing for the West Indies, right? The others have struggled since, and Lara struggled mightily with that. Although Lara had a keen understanding of the history of West Indies cricket, Lara was one of those players of his generation that knew all the old timers, where many of his colleagues did not even know many of the old timers' names, right? But I think he struggled with that. He even talked about it one year when they were playing the tsunami game in Australia, when Graham Smith was the captain for the World 11. Lara said to him, now you're going to see what it's like to captain the West Indies, because here Graham Smith was captaining a collective of players from around the world. He's saying, now you're going to see how it feels to captain the
That's correct.
Indies. Right? And that is a balance. And I think because of our lack of knowing each other in the Caribbean, as we like to call ourselves a nation separated by waters, but we don't really know each other. We know about what we read in the papers and so on. It's like when I came to the United States, and being in the New York area where everybody from the Caribbean are, it was the first time in my life I get to interact with all different Caribbean people and learn about their values and norms and so on and so forth, that the average person in the Caribbean does not get. And so it takes a serious leader of a West Indies team to bring these guys together, and the professionalism that is not inculcated from the grassroots. Because I'll tell you, youngsters around the world are inculcated with that professionalism and are able to understand from a young age how they're going to balance being an elite athlete and all the wiles of the world.
All the wiles of the world. Dr. Adams, balancing commitment to personal economic advancement and commitment to your nation.
To me, it goes back to one thing. The players are not grounded in terms of what brought them to where they are. They do not relate to where they are. And again, not all players, by the way.
Right.
But this new generation of players, like I said before, even when I used to play, I remember when I was playing for Guyana, we never looked forward to money. We didn't know how much. When we go on tour to Jamaica, for example, you get $7 per day in pocket change. Basil father, these guys never used. They never used to have the opportunity to negotiate how much you're gonna get. They didn't have unions and all that kind of stuff. But here is the one incident that I think West Indies cricket, you talk about decline. It was one incident, and it goes back to the grounding. And Basil, I can't even remember the year now. Did you remember with this? I call it the Nelson Mandela tour of the West Indies to South Africa.
Okay.
When half of the West Indies team sat at the hotel in England for more money, whereas this tour was a Nelson Mandela tour.
1999.
1998.
Yeah.
98, 99.
Yes.
This was the first time. This was a Mandela tour. Do you know, even when they went there with that team that they went, the feedback I got, the West Indies team had more supporters than South Africa. They were turning out. You would swear that West Indies were playing home. But my point is, here is a man, Nelson Mandela. You should have gone and played there for free.
That's correct.
About half of the team sat in England, and no team could have beaten us at that time. That we were the pinnacle of West Indies cricket. Half of the team was sitting in England, and while the other half was in South Africa. And
No, Vincent. All of them were in England, and I think. I don't think it's fair to blame them regarding the money, though, Vincent. That was also a turning point to show the lack of professionalism of the West Indies Cricket Board, and in relation to players in this new environment. You're dealing with professional athletes. These are partners in the process. These guys left the Caribbean after having negotiations with the board without contracts. And then when they're in transit in Bangkok, Thailand, Clive handing out contracts to them. And when they look at the contract, what they negotiated was missing.
Yeah,
so,
but
I understand.
My point is, this year was special. This year was not like the others. Like, to me, this year was this man, Nelson Mandela.
I agree with you.
And that's what when I talk about grounding. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you that if there was a level of consciousness that we wanted those players to have, they would understand. We're going to South Africa, and we're going there to beat this team for our people that look like me, like us, right? We're going to deal with this board story when we come back from...
Exactly.
Because of that situation, the team was not mentally ready, and South
That's
Africa
exactly
rolled over us.
Right. And we lost 5-0, of course.
5-0.
And we only won one day match. One day match.
And you look at the result. To me, that was the line I draw in terms of when West Indies cricket. When I lost all of my love really for I still wanted them to win.
Right.
But that was when I became so despondent and in terms of that kind of a behavior. Again, Basil, I know Basil, talking about the contracts and stuff. But to me, they could have said, listen, okay, we're gonna make some arrangement. We're gonna negotiate that later.
We'll deal with this later.
But here you got a man like Nelson Mandela. First time he going to South Africa after everything that used to happen before apartheid. Here is a free Nelson Mandela who was responsible for most of these cricketers. Because of his fight, we are where we are today. And that was when I talk about grumbling, I think that's one of the things that are missing with these cricketers. So where they came from.
But that responsibility to educate them gotta come from the board.
And I think too, again, not to knock Lara per se, but maybe somebody who had a little more political understanding than say a Lara who was the captain at the time.
Yes.
Would have said, guys, here, we going to South Africa. We're gonna take care of business, and then we coming back, and deal with this board issue, because this was not a regular tour. It's a similar way when Viv Richards are on a radio station in New York. And I always said Viv made a mistake giving up the captaincy if he wanted to go to the World Cup. They want to get rid of Viv by any means. People didn't like Viv. And he gave them the out by retiring and giving up the captaincy, but still wanted to go to the World Cup. And I remember Viv on a radio station, he came to New York, and he said that game against South Africa, who were just readmitted into world cricket, would be a game beyond the boundary.
There you go.
And I was very upset when Richie said, it's just another
game.
That was never another game.
And Basil, that's my point. That is why I locate the decline. I should not have said Brian Lara, but the Lara era. Right. You know, I am with Vince on that. I tell that moment, because if Lara was aware of the stick that Richardson got for that comment that he made, Lara and Upa would not have done what they did. Correct. And I love the dust Upa walk on, eh?
But I know that.
I mean, it's God. I mean, I used to walk behind Upa as a little boy. 1985 when he playing World Cup when Kenneth Benjamin was playing for the Leeward. You remember the tournament was in. I walking from ground to ground, left Buxton, come down to top behind Upa. So I love Upa. But when I see Upa do the dance with Lara, I said,
I actually met
we are into a new era.
Remember the first time we met was at Eve Leary in a conversation with
Carl. I still get a picture, you know, Basil. I still get a picture with Carl. yes. We all were at Eve Leary.
Yeah, when Carl came back out of
retirement. Yes.
And they were playing.
By you memory good.
Yeah, that's the first time we met each other.
Here, not me, just to go back a little bit, just a few seconds. I can't leave before I forget. I gotta tell you know, when we talk about this insularity thing, and I think I mentioned it last week on your show too, Dr. Hines. In the Guyana team, I think Basil was talking about how players are separated, they room together. Yeah. I remember my first tour on the Guyana team. Not only did they stop the Indians in the Indian room and the blacks rooming together, I had two roommates. And it was Res Murray and Cornelius.
So the mixed guys.
They put the three other people together. Now I look back, they put the three other people together.
They put the mixed people in the room.
Brothers and sisters, we can't avoid. I know last week we dealt with the issue, but the issue has not gone away. And this is Hetmeyer's selection on the team. It's still the talking point on all the cricket fora around and so on. It's still the talking point. And I have been reflecting on it, especially Basil, your comments from the comment section last week. And I have to agree with everything that you all say about Hetmeyer, everything. Not you all are correct. But I'm wondering whether West Indies cricket can afford to put somebody like Hetmeyer on the sideline, despite all his transgressions. The fact of the matter is, when you say his numbers are bad and others, their numbers are better, it's only better by 2 or 3 points, right? Or 4 points. It's not like Hetmeyer is averaging 20 odd and the rest are averaging 40 odd and 50 odd. Basically, they're the same. And I'm wondering whether, despite his transgressions, in trying to say he should not be selected, are we giving the impression that our cricket is so good that we can afford of a player of that caliber? Because we all have to agree that he is one of the most talented batsmen in the world, right? Can we afford, despite his transgression, to say dash you away? Because the others are not so much. It's not like the era of the great team when all our batsmen were averaging in the 40s and so on, and our bowlers were taking wickets every 20 odd balls and so on. We are struggling. And despite this by bad fashionness, can we afford to dash him away? And I'll come back to you. Yes, I'm coming to you first, Don. You go ahead.
But I've always been a big Admire fan, so I am biased, very very biased, and I would have a big problem with Mr. Sammy, right? If Admire does not play, I think for the very reasons you said, he deserves a chance to play, right? He deserves a chance to play ahead of many other people. There are times when he has taken us through. We just forget those now. No, there got some players have never ever done anything that is earth shattering in cricket. Don't get me wrong; they might have been consistent, so they will always get picked, but they never ever did anything that was earth shattering. Hetmeyer has seen us through. He's seen Ghana through. He's seen West Indies through. And I will support his inclusion. And Mr. Sammy don't want to have a problem with me now.
Stephen Bamfield, before you come in, Basil, because I know that's your baby, and it's really, I think Stephen Bamfield is on here, Don. Stephen is saying cricket back in the day was more than a religion. We all were poor. It was an obsession. We all imitated the names of our cricket heroes. Cricket had lifted the black man to a different level. The simple game of cricket inspired a nation of people.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, when I went to Queen's College used to play, I think it was White's Cup, Case Cup, and Northcote Cup or something like that. Cricket, right? Queen's College had students who represented Guyana. And then when Roger Harper was in low six, he was called to represent West Indies.
At 17 years old in 1980.
That's correct. I mean, and those were the days when everybody going to cricket, everybody got on a white pants and a white shirt. Nobody got on nothing fancy. It's basic. It's the love of the game that would have propelled them, right? And everybody had a hero. Everybody, just as he said, everybody. Clive Lloyd, Kanai, Lance Gibbs. You know, I remember at Queen's College, some of the fellas attempted to walk like Gibbs and walk like this body and things, because that's what it was, you know. And I always remember Christchurch, before it was born down, celebrated Carl Hoover by having a very large photograph of him in front of the school. And I hope that when they rebuild the school, they put back up that photograph. But I'm sure it will be put back up because he was at the birthday party too, David.
Oh, he was.
He came to Ghana for the birthday party.
Okay.
So I'm sure that will go. But I'm saying that in the days of Upan, those people when they were first playing, it was not about the money. It was about playing hard for country and playing hard for West Indies. Right? I remember when there was a game in Barbados, I was there, when Sherwin Campbell was given out, and the Bajans rained some bottles on the field that day. Right? And I think the umpire changed the mind, of some confusion. Yeah. And when coming out the ground and thing, I said just before that we had the incident in Ghana where I think there was 1-1 left and the crowd ran onto the field and had a problem with the result. Right. So after that we went to Barbados. So he had all this thing with Sherwin Campbell. We coming out to the ground. And so that he said, "Ma'am, but you asked the people must play cricket in Ghana. The Ghanaians behave bad." The lady says, "Guyanese people throw the bottle at the field. It's not major people. Guyanese people don't behave." So I said, for me, those were the days when I mean, I have relatives who live in England, right? And I heard Holden speaking about it the other day. He said he never realized the impact they had on people until the Groveland series, right? And he says, you know, the people were proud to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
I have a cousin who is an avid cricket fan, and he tells me their days when he dread he got to go to work, when West Indies get a thrashing, particularly from England.
Yes.
Right? You're shame, right? No longer days of all this whispering death coming through and fire in Babylon. Nah, not at all. It's just if we win, sometimes we say, "Oh God, we're really, really lucky." And a lot of times when West Indies when they got you on the edge of your seat. Right? On the edge of your seat. But one of the problems I go back to say is the administrators of the game. They have messed it up. Right? They continue to do a piss poor job. Dr. Shallow is shallow. I make no apology for saying that. Right? I don't think he's a man who is suited for that job. But that's how it goes. He was elected and he's there. I don't know what are his qualifications in terms of cricket. Right? Somebody said Dr. Shallow is out of his depth. The back rooms are where the dodgy deals are brokered, where negotiations are tailored to serve agendas that have little to do with development of cricket, and where horse trading goes on to serve insular interests. Right? And then Sir Clive Lloyd raised questions of the necessity of this signing of this 50-year, gone on to something else, the signing of this 50-year
CPL contract.
CPL contract. Right? I see Mia Motley jump up and say if it's not evenly yoked, it has to be renegotiated. Right? Let us see if that talk will move on to anything else. That's a little distraction. I don't want to go back here, but I just want to see. I'm just saying that the people who are in charge of cricket don't seem to know what it is that they're doing. That is the problem. The governments have a conference on cricket. The governments get involved in cricket. And Lawrence Romeo made the point. There should be no government interference in cricket. Right? That is what the ICC said. No government interference. But you tell that to this government again.
Basil?
And maybe other governments as well.
Yes.
I mean, I've lived in the Caribbean, but I've never seen governments get disinvolved in the level of cricket.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in Anguilla. Anguilla had the Omari Banks.
Omari Banks?
Right? And I mean, I was there with Omari Banks. He said, he's not playing cricket anymore. He's forming a band.
Yeah,
and he done just like that he done with cricket.
Yeah.
Right? So some of these people, I don't think they have a love and an appreciation for the game. Particularly those who come from the smaller territories who may not have living role models around the place.
Yeah.
Right? So they wouldn't have that. I lived in Nevis. Right? The Nevisians will tell you, nobody from St. Kitts ever make West Indies. So even at that little level, this is a federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah.
But they have their strong extenders. Kitts should never play. Every West Indian come from Nevis.
Right.
Every West Indian. Right? You go to Antigua. Right? You go to Antigua and they will tell you everything they can tell you but Richardson and Richards and Roberts and everything. But the smaller countries, though, they don't have anybody to help them. Right. Grenada, who Grenada has? St. Vincent had
Junior Murray. You had
Junior Murray and
Junior Murray and then Raw Lewis and so on.
Well, where's Raw Lewis? Last time I heard Raw Lewis was a fashion model.
No,
Raw Lewis was part of the board.
He's a manager of the West.
That's very good, because I was always concerned about the small, and then in the other places, though, like in Trinidad and Barbados, some of their cricketers are unreachable. When I say that, they have achieved such greatness.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you go on YouTube and you put in Jason Holder, house and assets, right? I mean, these things, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I mean, these people just are in a category by itself. Yeah. Right? So they don't have much interaction with the common player. Right? They might have interactions in the particular clubs in which they play. And that's one thing with Barbados. Every Saturday and Sunday you could drive around Barbados and cricket is being played and all the players are wearing white clothes.
Yeah.
You pass YMCA, a man got on a yellow jersey and a grey sweatpants, right? And no team has on proper clothes, right? So I don't know if we don't take our cricket seriously or if, because some of these teams playing in competitions, right? They get in some decent prize money. They have sponsors, they wear the sponsors thing on jerseys and so on. But we don't have that level of uniformity. We don't have anybody there. I mean, I don't know when last I could say I've seen a senior cricketer just going around the place and seeing what is happening at the schools or at the grounds.
At the grounds. Don Holder here, Don Holder Cush, Dr. Vincent Adams, and Basil Butcher Jr. Basil, Dawn says very clearly she's biased towards
Maya.
So I am putting the question to you because you the numbers man and so on. Can we afford to throw away Hetmeyer? Because, and I hear the bad behavior, I hear that he hasn't done anything much since he's come back. I hear he hasn't done anything or chattering in the CPL. I noticed the Rajasthan Royals has not played him in the last 2 matches today. They didn't play him, nor they didn't play Powell. And you see the dance they're doing with our players over there. Can we afford to dash away Hetmeyer because of his bad fashionness and because of his lack of form recently?
Just before I answer that, just in terms of the importance of what West Indies cricket did, I just tell a quick story. My dad said in 1963, when they arrived in England, Frank Worrell said to all of them, we only got 2 superstars on this team, myself and Valentine. Because at that time, had you not done the business in England, you were not regarded as a good player.
Okay.
So even though Sobers had already broken the world record, Kanai made separate hundreds in Australia, Gibbs had taken a hat trick in Australia, once 2 superstars. And he said, when we go out on that field to play, we're not just playing for ourselves and the people back home, but also all them black man here in England. Because when we win, they walk into work with the chest puff up. If we
That's
lose,
right.
they could lose a job. Now on to Hetmeyer. When I assess Hetmeyer, I don't concern about all the shenanigans where he do our field. I looking at Hetmeyer purely on his performances, right? And in this case, what seems to have happened, him being included in this squad, in my view, the selectors have rolled the dice and said, look, because you remember Hetmeyer was brought back into the team and then dropped. I for one, question when he was dropped from the squad. Not just drop and be sitting on the bench, but got dropped out of the squad after the 3 games when the selectors made an adjustment. And then, well, I say, okay, well, they wanted to look at so-and-so player. But then, when the next series, which would have been already our last series, before international series to Australia, he was not picked.
Even a second string team.
No,
because remember, yes,
the white ball team.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
The white
Yeah,
ball team was a full team.
Okay,
full team.
Right.
I was surprised when I saw he was not selected in. I said maybe that means Hetmeyer's chances of getting into this World Cup team are slim to none. And then you're looking at the role he plays in the Rajasthan Royals, where he just comes in because Hetmeyer averages less than 7 balls a game faced, right? And that was not the role he was picked to play in the West Indies team. As Sammy stated, Puran and why they brought in Shea Hope into the T20 team, Hetmeyer, those 3 guys are supposed to be good, decent players of spin. And where West Indies T20 team was falling down was in those middle overs, 7 to 15, where the spinners would be operating. And we needed to up the tempo then. So Hetmeyer comes in and he doesn't get the job done. According to Sammy said, we brought in Hetty. He didn't get the job done as we wanted, and he was left out. So I was surprised that he got picked in. I didn't have him in my World Cup squad. But I said, look, selectors have the right to roll the dice, to have a gut feeling about a player and bring that player in. Because Hetmeyer, I mean, Desi answered the question in the press conference, I think, that caused more confusion. When he said, we're looking at Hetmeyer down at the bottom, at the what they call the finisher. But I don't think so. Hetmeyer is still best placed at what he was in the team for before he was dropped. When we got all that lumber from the captain, Russell, Shepherd, we don't need Hetmeyer to do that job. We need Hetmeyer in the middle to begin doing the job, and then to accelerate even further if he's still in batting after 15 overs. So I think they've rolled the dice. I don't I would have made a different choice, because my question is this. By you now only having 2 opening batsmen in the squad, are you saying to me that you're rolling with these 2 come hell or high water? Or are you going to take somebody you selected for a different role and now trust them into the opening role? Because as Desi said we pick players for roles and roles and roles. Now with only 2 opening batters, you telling me you're going to roll the dice with just the 2 with them through the whole World Cup? Are you going to bring somebody up who was not picked to play as an opener to open the batting? So
who you bringing up?
Huh?
Who you gonna bring up?
Well, who are they? I mean, there's a bunch of speculation. Puran made a statement recently in India that he would love to open the batting. Right? I don't know. I don't know if that is a good thing or not, because I've never seen Puran at the opening spot in T20 cricket.
Yes, he started as an opener, you remember?
No. I'm not saying, I'm saying in international T20 cricket.
Okay.
I mean, I somebody could start at something, but you gotta assess them on the roles they actually played at the international level, right? Because Jason Ola, for one, was an opening batsman in school and so on and so forth, but none of we sent Jason Ola to open the batting, right? So it's gonna be very interesting, and we also still have the question mark with Brandon King. Brandon King suffered an injury in the last game he played for Jamaica. He didn't go to Nepal. No, he has those 3 matches against South Africa, or I should say 2 matches, because after I think 2 of the games is when they have the last chance to make any changes in the squad without ICC permission, right? So he will have to show that he's up to par, because remember in the World Cup, these games come fast and furious, right? So fitness is a key issue. Somebody have said to me, the reason Hetmai is not playing these last 2 games, that he suffered some niggle. Now, we have to be very conscious of that also, him having a niggle, because if it is not taken care of in the way it should be and he don't respond and so on, that could lead to even further damage. So, there's still some volatility, I would say, in the West Indies team. Going into the World Cup with some little injury issues and the opening spot. I'm a little concerned about that. We only got 2 and we got no back.
Well, I think just as how we turned Myers into an opener, I think Sharon Rutherford, for example, I think would be a good. He's good against quick bowling.
I mean, here they obviously may have some people in mind. Obviously, they have to have somebody in mind that they feel that they could bring up to do the job, that they would go in with 2 people designated opening batters. Because I don't think Desi and Sammy so stupid.
Right. Vincent, I know that you vexed with Hetmai bad, and I understand it coming from. Because I vexed with it too. That chap give me. I remember running into Lance Gibbs. I remember running into Lance, and Lance was sitting with PJ Patterson at a T20 match a couple of years ago. I went there and I walk up and I said, "Mr. Gibbs, I have to shake your hand." And he looked me up and down. He said, "Well, I'm not going to shake your hand before you tell me what." I said, "I hear you say that if you get near to the Hetmai, you're going to take out your belt and put some good lashes on it." But I mean, that's the way I feel about Hetmai. If I run into you, he'll take out my belt and put some lash on me. So I hear the criticisms, Vincent, and I know that you're coming from a place of love. And as somebody who wore those colors and represented Guyana and by extension the West Indies, I know that when you say those things, they don't come lightly.
One quick thing before Vincent said, Hetmai knew my father. Because he was one of the first recipients of the Basil Butcher Foundation on the 15 Getting Gears.
Okay.
And I can tell you this, I know had my father been well at the time, because the last 5 or 6 years of his life, he wasn't well.
Okay.
And he would have seen Hetmai, for one, put on all the weight. he would have put in a call to Foster to tell Foster, I got to talk to Hetmeyer.
That's
And
correct. That's correct.
you see, this is where people don't understand the importance of former players, because I would have bet you young Hetmeyer would have listened to what my father would have to say to him and maybe would have made different choices. I just wanted to put that out there.
Vincent, over to you.
Well, that's a good segue there, because what I was about to say, again, I go back old school. I grew up under Basil's father, personally and cricket-wise. And I can tell you this, I can guarantee you this, even Basil may not agree, Basil had, let's say Basil was a selector or in charge of cricket, Hetmeyer would have been out of the West Indies team a long time. And to me, you cannot separate. I know people say, well, he's a cricketer. We understand how his shenanigans. That his behavior affects not only his performance, but the team's performance. And he would never have played in any team that Basil Butcher had anything to do with. No. But beyond that, and then we say that I know you say that, well, we can't dash you away. Hetmeyer is the one who's dashed away the West Indies cricket. Besides not going on tour when he's picked, Hetmeyer missed flights. Hetmeyer does not want to play for the West Indies. Put on weight. But let's go to his numbers. And it's obviously Basil covered a lot of the analysis. And I've always said, and I've probably been the biggest fan of Hetmeyer in his early career. Here's a guy who jumped in the scene. I thought he was going to be the next Brian Lara. The guy jumped in the scene. What did he get? Like 400 in ODIs? Immediately?
Five
I
by
said
the
this
time
guy
he was
is
22.
incredible. I was one of his biggest fans.
23.
In the United States, every morning, when he's playing, I would get on Cricket Info to see how well he did and that type of stuff. And then here's a guy who just to me, he's just wasted a talent because, again, of that attitude and not behaving the way that he should. But let's get back to his numbers. I believe that, and Basil will tell you this, I always felt that the IPL cricket damaged him. I understand. I agree with these guys. They've got to make a living. Mm-hmm. It's a short window. But especially when you compare him to Puran, the way that Puran behaves and his attitude towards the game, not only his personal life, but the way that he disciplines himself and the sacrifice he made. Look at Puran. Puran, a lot of people didn't know that Puran would even come back and play the game after that accident.
Yep.
So here's Hetmeyer. He goes to the IPL. And when he goes to the IPL, they turned him because he wasn't making runs up front. Mm-hmm. He wasn't in the condition to make runs. They decided to make him a finisher, right? Now, I don't know what this finisher stuff means, because if you're a damn good batsman, I want you, especially somebody like I want you batting early, so you're in a better position to finish late in the game. So I understand this finisher, you come in for bat for seven balls. But here's the other thing about this finisher stuff that they said he's playing, besides what Basil said. He does not have the statistics for a finisher. Basil knows the numbers.
Yes.
It's not a case where this guy is like 200 as a finisher or 180 or 107. Let Basil can give you the numbers. This finisher, how much? Basil, tell us what are his finishing averages.
I mean, right now Hetmeyer scored 83 runs in batting was.
But as you said, you can't expect him to score more than
that.
No,
if
he's coming and facing 5 balls and 7 balls.
Yeah, he's only so for me. I see one of this point here. This person, Colin Goodridge, must be one of the Hetmeyer fanboys to be blaming Phil Simmons. I mean, this is where particularly these Hetmeyer fans, I've got to straighten them out. That is patently wrong what he is saying there. He is patently wrong. Hetmeyer batted at every position in the West Indies batting lineup other than opening and failed to perform.
Yeah, but Basil, the question I've posed to you and Vincent is that, yes, his numbers are not up there. Mm-hmm. Yes, his attitude. But which West Indian number is up there in a consistent way?
No, I'm saying all of the guys, it's funny you say that.
Yeah.
one of his great fanboys in our chat group, I ain't calling his name. When we were all speculating whether Hetmyer gonna get into the team before the team was announced, he called out about 5 guys who currently in the team and said to me, are these guys better than Hetmyer? So I stopped here. I said, hold on. We ain't gonna get in no sentimental discussion here. Give me what the criteria mean to determine better. And I said to him, you're under serious pressure because all 5 of these batters you just named got better career strike rates in international T20 cricket than Hetmyer. So you're already on a deficit right there, right? Because one of the things in T20 cricket, strike rate is weighted heavily, right? Even Shea Hope got a better international T20 strike rate than Hetmyer. It is surprising to people to know that Hetmyer's career strike rate for West Indies is less than 120. And then the same finisher role that people talking about that he's supposed to be a big boy in IPL is lower in his career his career strike rate. And then when you push him up the order, he barely over 100. So I said to people, Hetmyer got selected. The selectors feel strongly about his ability. That is what he got picked on, not on his performance. Because I would say this unequivocally, Hetmyer is a piss poor international T20 batsman. Not me saying this. The record state that.
The record will show.
Basil. Only format Hetmyer has performed credibly for the West Indies is in ODI cricket. No,
and that's the only format he got a long run.
Yes.
Hetmyer plays
But I want
in the last West Indies played 17 T20s since for the last year and a half. 2023. Hetmyer plays 6. Sheo plays 16 or 17. So, I mean, and they're batting up in the order. And so I'm saying, are we really being fair in looking at statistics as a way to go?
No, Dr. Hines, as Vincent said, we were going to South Africa last year. Now, Mr. Hetmyer is out of the West Indies team when he made his shenanigans not to go to Australia for the World Cup.
Right.
Now, we have a World Cup on the. Not only that, we had the qualifiers on the horizon. He makes himself unavailable, but yet still people say, "Oh, we should dash you away." To me, he should be rushing to the West Indies and say, "I am available."
And they didn't carry. And they didn't get in, and they didn't qualify. The point I am making is that we are not good enough as a team to be able to dash away Hetmyer. And we didn't qualify.
But David again, and you cannot. You see, I think a lot of times people miss the fact that discipline and behavior is you cannot separate it, especially when you're playing. Especially at the international level, because not only does it affect your performance, it affects the rest of the team. It lowers morale. And then when other team members see that he might be getting away with stuff, they're gonna follow suit. So you cannot separate the two.
I got you. But if we can pardon, what's his name, Russell, and bring him back in the team after all that he has done against turn his back on West Indian cricket. If he can bring back Pollard and give him the captaincy after he turned his back on West Indies cricket, I am saying that we should not be so hard on Hetmyer.
I think you're conflating things, Dr. Hines.
Well, sometimes for the same argument, we have to conflate some things.
Yeah. I always tell people, when we look at each one of these players, these so-called mercenaries or whatever, we got to look at each case on its own merits. Not
Pollard was averaging 19 when we bring him back.
I will tell you, Dr. Hines.
You're a numbers man, so you should know
Dr.
that.
Hines, I will tell you this.
Yeah.
And Vincent will tell you that I was finished with Russell. I disagree vehemently with them bringing back Russell. I disagree. but I'm not a selector. Right? So,
But I want to tell you what Haynes said, right? He said that made a very close decision, picking Hetmeyer over Kyle Myers,
correct.
who's been a regular opener in the past, while doubling up as a handy medium pace bowler. The
Right.
selectors felt having a finisher was more important than a top order batter like Myers, who's
Right.
currently in IPL as part of LCG.
Yes. Now, you know what's an interesting thing? One of my Bajan friends said about Myers. West Indies in the T20 setup. He said they also could have tried Myers down the order also, because Myers, you know, Myers is destructive. However, Myers catch bowling, Myers could take you apart. So he was of the opinion, and I had never thought. I said, you know, that's an interesting point, because when you look at the composition of the team, Myers may bring more value to the team because of his ability to maybe bat from one all the way down and also handy with the ball. But the selectors made a choice. We got to respect their choice, and let's see how it plays out. I am no longer.
But there's my answer. I'm making it very clear to everybody that whatever team you hear us put out today, that team we feel is going to win the World Cup.
Correct.
But
Yes,
I am not so hopeful.
fire him on the spot.
Exactly. I really don't know how you could make a comment like that.
Well, you know, he's a selector. You gotta
but you could say when we playing at home and we hope to have success and so on. But to go on and say we're going to win the World Cup, we got to play Uganda and all them people in Ghana. I only hoping to pray to God that the people don't beat us at Providence.
I pointed out a guy who well, he's a West Indies media man, saying we are one of the top teams. I said, no. Pop your brakes. I said, my friend, because we had a nice last year, don't forget we were the team that couldn't qualify for 2 World Cups. One World Cup we win one game, the next one we couldn't qualify. And I would say we are a dangerous team because of them big hitters we got in the team. We could put up some serious numbers. We are a very dangerous team, but I won't put us in the same league with the Indians, the Australias,
New Zealand,
and so on. Because those teams consistently, and one of the worries we still have a question mark is our bowling. Can our bowlers defend the runs? You know, because Sammy said something. One of the reasons for Shamar Joseph, which I agree, we don't take wickets in the power play, and Shamar got the skill set he's a wicket taker. So, as Sammy said, if you can get wickets early, and which I agree with, you could put a crimp in the team, because now you don't go into 15 overs to 5 overs to go, and they got like 6 batsmen in the hut, because I mean they could go wild on you, right? But if you go into the last 5 and they down 7 wickets or something like that, you can lower the damage, lessen the damage that they could do against you. So let's see how. I mean, here I want my West Indies win badly, right? And I tell the Hetmeyer fans, despite what I say about Hetmeyer, you see when he put on the maroon, I with Mr. Hetmeyer 1,000%, right?
I like that.
I don't play the. Once you play for my team, I with you 1,000%. I wish Mr. Hetmeyer all the best, because here.
I like that. I like that.
I have never gotten into all the shenanigans, whether to pick him or not to pick him. He has made the choices. He has made the choices because, again, Dr. Hines, we went to South Africa, which was a series before the qualifiers, and the man makes himself unavailable. How are you going to pick him for the qualifiers then?
I can't fight you with that.
I don't know what.
I can't fight you with that. I can't fight you with that. I tell you how I'm feeling. If I meet that boy, I just wear belt. At me, you can wear belt.
He's a very lucky man. He's a very, very lucky man.
But I still believe he's playing half of his like Basil said, he's playing off of his name, to be honest. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
No. He
Because
has not been performing. I mean, that
Dr.
goes.
Hines, Dr. Hines,
Yeah.
because even if you look, because I look at all cricket that's streaming Guyana.
Yeah.
I looked at the intercounty when he played.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a big bats. You're supposed to come and dominate the intercounty. Don't make them low scores. Then when you go and play for Guyana in the regional, again you're making low scores. You're not imbuing no confidence in your fans as to your performance. This is where you gotta go and dominate. And he hasn't been doing that.
All three of you all know people around cricket. In many regards, you're all around cricket. Have people been talking to him? I ask that all the time. I ask Roger when I see him. Everybody. I ask. Are there people who talk to him?
I would say this.
Foster has to talk to him.
Foster Hilbert is one of the few people I've been told that he listens to. Right?
That's correct.
I don't know. I'm not gonna get into who he listens to more or whatnot. But I get the impression.
But Basil, maybe you should try to talk to him.
I wish I met him once. He didn't know who I was. I didn't tell him who I was. I was with my two brothers, and we were with a group of Guyana players in Florida when they had the CPL. Vincent was there.
I was there.
And we in the lobby I talked with some of the players that I know, and he was a youngster just getting from the World Cup. They won the World Cup earlier, and he come into the group with us talking, right? And my youngest brother come over, and he look at Hetma. He said, "Basil, who is this guy?" I said, "You don't recognize our on the 19 World Cup winning captain, Shemron Hetmeyer?" And he smiled, and the brother said, "Oh yes, Hetmeyer." But we never said nothing to him and say,
no, but maybe you should speak to him. If you say your father was alive, it may have been different. So maybe you could reach out.
I wish I could. I would love to speak to Hetmeyer. I would like to understand. First, I wouldn't want to come and say, I think this is probably could be an issue. Somebody look at Hetmeyer, oh boy, you behave bad. No. Me, I want to understand why you make the choices you make.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I want to understand where your head.
But reach out to him. I'm sure David has a number for Sammy.
I have to admit that I'm biased towards St. Lucia. To me, is the most beautiful Caribbean island I've gone to. I am somewhat biased towards St. Lucians, so I think I can get Sammy done. This is great discussion, and
the one thing I want to say, Dr. Hines, when you were talking about the state of West Indies cricket, I want to imbue something here, bring something into this conversation. We have all around sport today, there are elite athlete development models. The structure of the development of players, regardless of sport, there are these models, you might have different types, but there's a universal understanding. And one of the failures of West Indies cricket administrators, etc., we have never studied why our players were so great, right? What did they do from being a youngster all the way up to the top? We have never done that. Australians have studied us and taken principles and put it into their systems. And that's something we need to do. We need to know why Gary Soares was so great. And he's still alive. We've got to catch him before he go to the great beyond. No, Malcolm Marshall, he gone. We still got Roberts, Holden, Kraft, Garner, all of them still alive. We need to understand, because I speak regularly to Sir Randy. And many times he would tell me things about his coming up in the game. Mm-hmm. And I would say to him, I said, Sir Randy, I could give you the science for that, because I've trained in elite athlete development models. And today we're more understanding about how to compact all the different components. But those same components was around informally, but we never called them by those names. For example, when Vincent and even me, when I was coming up, we didn't really have coaches. You know, my father played for West Indies and never coached me. All he ever did, he showed me how to hold a bat, he hang the sock under the house and show me how to hit the ball. Beyond that, when it comes to hitting the batting, he never coached me. Like when I wanted to learn to bowl a leg break, I went to him and asked him to show me the grip. He showed me the grip, and I went and I practiced by myself, right? But what I'm saying is that was coaching. Even like when Vincent would talk about when he played with my old boy, and me old boy would tell him certain things. That's the mentorship. We never call it coaching. Today, that is called coaching, right? So that was there. All the players coming and giving you advice is mentorship about whether how to work out things in situations as a young player and so on, giving you insights. All of those things were there. But today, now, we are more scientific and systematic. We know how definitive to have that there. Fitness, when Vincent and even when I was playing, we running, you gotta get your stamina, you put in the yards. Now we're a little more sophisticated. We know how to be more with the fitness. So that component is more scientific now. Eating good food was a norm because we eat the food from the land, right? We eat fresh food. So we didn't need no nutritionist. But today, because of the nonsense out there, guys eating McDonald's and Wendy's, you got to eat good food. So you need good nutrition advice. And all the people would always tell you about how to structure your life. A teacher and all them different things. Today, you call that lifestyle coaches. Those components are all those components. The coaches, the fitness, the nutrition, lifestyle, the mental part of the game. Now today you got a sports psychologist and so on. All those components are important in the development of an elite athlete. And we have to structure our systems with all of those resources surrounding the players. Like I use the example. Let me look at Georgetown. Georgetown got 8 or 10 clubs. We would say something like this. All right, the club sub up. They seconded a strength and conditioning coach. So that coach will come to all the different clubs, give them fitness program. They do the same thing for nutritionists. So they could give the players nutrition advice. A lifestyle coach, similarly, a sports psychologist. And each club got their skill coaches and so on. So the players are being exposed from an early stage to all the various components of what it takes to develop to be an elite athlete. And these players got to understand one thing. To be an elite athlete, you can't come and practice an hour a day, 2 hours a day, and be great. They got to understand they got to put in 4 to 8 hours every day. That's what it takes. Their colleagues around the world, that's what they're doing. Right?
That's what they're doing.
And when you bring that up the ladder to where as you coming up the ladder, all those resources are within your team context now. You see, in Australia, I'll give you this last story. I'm looking at the World Cup, the 19 Women's World Cup. And I always tell the story. A young Australian girl brought into the team last minute, 15 years old at the time. She ended up leading and taking 3 wickets. So at the halftime, in between innings, the guy interviewing her, this is 15 years old, asked her what was her plans. And so she said, really, I didn't have any plans because I was a late entrance into the game, like half an hour before the start because one of my teammates got injured. But I have my plans and my strengths as a bowler, and that's what I put into play. No, you can't tell me a 15-year-old in the Caribbean could articulate that. That is where the difference between the structures our youngsters competing against. Even grown first-class players cannot articulate that in the Caribbean. I was asking a player for Guyana, the recent women's tournament. I asked the player, y'all just sit down and plan out before the game and all that. Player said to me, no, Mr. Butcher, we don't got no meeting like that. Yeah. I said, what? I said, sorry for you. That is why y'all not moving on. That is 101. A 13-year-old in Australia, South Africa, England, India, everywhere else are doing that. And you playing at the level below international, and you're not doing that.
You're not doing that, Basil Butcher Jr. here tonight. We've been doing it. And yes, he said 101. It's West Indies Cricket 101. And this is our second program. It's good to see so many of you have come out. You know, we've been talking through the state of West Indies cricket, and we have to do that all
But
the
there's
time.
a comment there. There's a comment there that somebody is saying that Basil should listen to me and reach out to him.
Oh well, I have no qualms.
Please do.
No, see, I'm being very
no
genuine when I say that.
But
would love to speak to him.
but the thing is, it's not only about Basil reaching out to Hetmeyer. It gets back to the fundamental that Basil just spoke about it. I spoke about it earlier. It has to be part of a structure. We've got all of these great, we've got all of these great cricketers, and we're not bringing them into
using them
to expose the younger players to them. When I was coming up, you think that Basil Butcher and Clive Lloyd and those folks, when you play with them, they're gods. So when they talk to you, you listen, because the players know that they were there, and that's what brought them success. And so we've got to get those older players, bring them back into the system and make them part of the system, not to leave it to themselves for them to go and and say, I'm going to go talk to the sport. It should be part of the system. So again, it comes back to governance.
Correct.
Comes back to governance.
But let me, in terms of it, I know we've talked a lot about this opening batting thing in T20. We've got to realize, to me, this opening batting thing it's overrated in this T20. We've got 20 overs. When I look at the West Indies team here, we've got, that we know of right now, a one specialist opening batsman. But any of these guys in a T20, it is good just like that. And any of these, we've got several people, even if you run into trouble, you've got Hope, you've got King, and that off-spinner kid who can hold up things in the middle. So I'm not worried about the opening batting. And so I'm cool. And I agree with Basil. This is a very, very dangerous team. A very dangerous team. And as we know in a T20 game, all it takes is one person in a game to click.
Correct.
And the game, but on the backside, again, I agree with Basil. Could we defend whatever runs we make? That's where my concerns are.
That's where our concern is.
Dr. Hines,
yes, sir.
Vincent said something, and I want you to get this clear too.
Yes.
As I tell you, I talk to Sir Randy Roberts regularly. Sometimes we talk 2, 3, 4 times a week. Sir Randy Roberts tell me a youngster, because he was showing a young fast bowler about the jump before you get you gather and you deliver. So he said to the youngster, why, like what he used to do, he would put a box. So you hop over the box, A West Indies coach, a coach employed by CW, I see the youngster in Antigua, ask him, who tell you for do that? And he says, Sir Randy. He said, don't listen to he don't know what we're talking about. Now you believe this? That coach could farm his mouth to say Sir Andy don't know what he's talking about. Now, I have posted some videos from coaches in England, India, with players doing exactly what Sir Andy thing with a little cardboard box, with it jumping over, with hurdles or tires. This one coach in here got tires, so he mind the byline and the tire. What happened to him? Right? A boxing and just crush. And this is the ignorance that is going on with some of these people and the lack of respect. This guy never out a man in test cricket, and you telling a man who know about fast bowling and could sit down and talk about fast bowling like a professor.
Yeah.
And you say you know what we talking about.
Part of our problem. Lord, we've been doing it. I want us to go out on perhaps a positive note. I remember Carl Hooper saying in Australia, the recent series, that there's a youngster in the team would call him at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yes, Mr. Sinclair.
And wake you up. Young Kevin Sinclair. When I heard him, the skin grow.
Oh
because
yes.
in the mess that we are in, there is a youngster here who got his head on his shoulder. I was
He should
personally,
have been in, he was in my squad, by the way.
I was,
He
yes,
in
I'm
my
personally
squad.
disappointed that he's not in this squad, because I think when you have a player like that, they should never be on the outside. You do everything to get a player who got the head, because part of our problem is that we saying that we players the head are walking right. Here is a young man who head is walking right, and my thing, whatever you do, find a place for him in the squad. If you don't play him, you see, because he's not. He got the numbers, Basil, to support him.
I don't know
Kevin
about
Sinclair,
that. I know about that.
You. Then, all right, Kevin, I'll go with you first, then Vincent, and then Don will close us off. Kevin Sinclair, your thoughts?
I had I actually first time I met young Sinclair was here in New York. In New York, Kevin Darlington, who is a relative.
Is he uncle? I understand.
Yes, Darlo introduced me to him. He was an under 15 guy at the time. He introduced me to him. So I saw him when I went back home in 2022, because the Guyana team was practice training in Georgetown, and in the evenings they would come over DCC, and I would go over DCC and hang out. So he was standing there and all of them talking. I said, Sinclair, you don't remember me? And he looked up, he said, oh, Rastaman, yes. Well, I recently was on a radio program, and he was one of the guests. And I was very impressed with Sinclair's description and his awareness of when he went to Australia, the things that he learned of the game at that level, the type of preparation, the tactics, and all of those things, his awareness of all of those things. And you could see he is the only player that came back from that series and came back to our regional first-class tournament and took his batting to another level, right? Sinclair made 508 runs. He made his first class 100. All the rest of them that went there, from McKenzie, Hodge, Graves, none of them excelled to that extent. We were all expecting, after you facing the drilling from the best bowling attack in the world, when you come back to the Caribbean, man, we expect you to really dominate. And Sinclair, I commend young Sinclair. I commend his work ethic. He's always wanted to get better. And that is the essence of any elite athlete. You always have to want to get better and continually work on your game on and on. You never arrive. No player has ever arrived. You're always trying to get better.
And Vincent?
Hey, I can't do any better than Basil for some of the same attributes that I saw in this kid. And the one thing Basil didn't mention, the kid is mentally tough. He proved that in this last Caribbean tournament. The guy is a great athlete. I had him in my team. This guy, and for your reason, Dr. Hines, if nothing else, just to keep him in the 15 for exposure, because I picked Shamar Joseph in the 15, if nothing else for that reason, because I don't expect Shamar Joseph is gonna light up the place, to be honest. This is a different T20 thing. I'm hoping that he does well. It's a different kettle of fish, and I want to see how he's gonna react when them boys start playing that kind of fancy shots. You got 2 and 3 slips and that kind of thing. We gotta wait and see how he's gonna react.
Oh yes.
But nevertheless, he bowls a good line, and even the line, you don't necessarily bowl a good line. Your length and line is different in T20. But so anyway, he's got the pace, he's got the right attitude, and he's got good control. And he moves, he bowls up, he gets movement off the wicket and through the air. So that's how I picked him. And I would have done the same thing with Sinclair, just for him to be part of this tackle, because the guy seems as if he wants to learn. He's dedicated. And that's what, I love seeing that in a young player. And on top of that, he's performing. So it's not a case where you're just picking him because of those attributes. He's performing.
I would hope, Vincent, they have a camp going on right now in Antigua. I wonder if he's part of that camp.
No, he played T10 cricket in Guyana.
What that tells me the selectors don't have him high on the ranks for the T20 team.
And to think that he made his debut, it made his West Indies debut playing T20 cricket.
Yeah, I find that incredible.
I don't, that's what I'm saying.
Insularity. You know, y'all are too bright. This thing is simple. If you put Kevin Sinclair on the team, how many Babishans play?
Oh yeah,
and if you put Kevin Sinclair,
so many Babishans playing.
If you put Kevin Sinclair and the team, Rustin Chase can be on the team.
No, but I'm serious.
No, Don. I had Sinclair in the team. Would not have a Babishan on my team would have been left out.
He would have left
Hetmeyer. Yes, but if you put Sinclair in the team,
no, Basil, because I would have played Mears in front of Hetmeyer, and Sinclair would have played
in front of Moti. In front of
Moti. He would have played in front of Moti.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You really working this thing out scientifically to get balance.
Basil, Vincent, Don, it's been quite a ball here tonight. We've gone for 2 hours, and our audience has stayed with us, and quite a rich discussion as can be gleaned from the thing. And I rather suspect that we get a lot of cricketers on the program. I usually find these things after, because people don't use their real name in the comments.
Yeah.
And so many people over the week have found a way to get in touch with me as I was on the program. Turned out they were former cricketers. So I just want you to know that this social media story, you don't know is who watching you. You don't know who listening to you. But I think we all have done justice to the subject. And so I want to thank you all again for coming on. Thank you.
I thank you too.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Hein.
Same.
And it's always a pleasure. I say to you, the audience, without you, we can't do this. We started with the politics thing, but you all understand we are Guyanese and Caribbean people. So we just don't walk on one foot. We do the politics, but we also got to do some other things. We do the cricket, but the cricket itself is politics. You see how the politics came in? Not the capital P politics, the small p politics, because as CLR James says, this thing goes beyond the boundary. I'm going to see you all back here next week, Sunday. But, you know, we got a lot going on in between then. We're doing the politics during the week, and then next week, Saturday, we are launching our newest program, and that is Reggae and Calypso 101. My first guest is going to be Keith Beresford, who is my Calypso Baku. He knows Calypso more than me. And I consider myself a student of it. So we're going to have a ball. We're going to try to put together a team next Saturday on this same channel. But for now, I would like to say to you all, thanks for staying with us on another West Indies Cricket 101. And, you know, I grew up here in Prior Jonas and Fred Wills. And I remember in 1973 when Kanai was about to get the captaincy and there was some talk about it. And Fred Wills used to be on us every Sunday like this. And the next West Indies captain shall be none other than Rohan Babulal Kanai. And so I go out here tonight and say, let us hope that despite our trouble, the next world champions in T20 cricket after the tournament shall be the West Indies. Let us all rally round the West Indies, because them bad boys gonna come for you, as David Rudder said. Them bad boys gonna come for you.
Rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here comes the West Indies. And when you're facing the generals, nearly every ball is a funeral. And when we batting, brother, go and put your men on the boundary line. And if you give we a lick up, that is merely a hiccup. Look, you win the little battle, you lose the war. It's the same result every time. Everybody sing. Here comes the West Indies. Here comes the West Indies. Them rude boys gonna get you by degrees. Here comes